As the ghosts began to arrive, individual problems began to pop up. A skeleton crew of technicians was kept busy full-time, attending to the peculiar needs of the future inhabitants. No stone was left unturned. Some of the ethereal inhabitants were much too shy to be seen by mortals, and mechanical substitutes had to be devised to make them visible. What you are seeing is a man operating a machine that activates the mechanical features of this head. Or is it the other way around? Well, whatever it is, it seems to work. At least, I think that's what this fellow is trying to tell us. With the aid of these banks of electronic equipment, even the household pets were animated, including these two friendly creatures. A system was developed by the people at Disney to control the movements of the ghostly inhabitants of the Haunted Mansion through the use of scalloped-edge discs. Roller cams followed the depressions and shoulders, producing realistic movements that helped to bring our spooky tenants to life, if you'll excuse the pun. This system was called audio animatronics, which combined three-dimensional animation and sound through the use of electronics. By stacking these discs, a number of functions could be controlled at the same time. As a matter of fact, every movement and sound of all the tenants of the Haunted Mansion is directed in this manner. Is it any wonder that it took more than 10 years to complete the job? An interesting phenomenon that we seem to have no control over is this old gentleman who just can't seem to keep his eyes off of you no matter where you go. Probably the single most difficult problem faced by the Illusionaires at WED was that posed by some of the more bashful boarders who refused to show their faces. Some of the busts even appeared to be unfinished. The head was there, but the face was missing. But you know how it is. At Disney's, there's always a couple of faces left lying around on the floor.
As the moon climbs high over the dead oak tree, creepy creeps with eerie eyes. Grim grinning ghosts come out to socialize.
On Wonderful World of Color.
I've seen that, actually. That's pretty good. So
Yeah,
you're talking
pretty
about
good.
the Walt Disney walkthrough he does with one of the hosts, park hosts, and says, hey, this is where we're going to dump a guy in a well and interrogate that whole bit?
Yeah.
Where he introduces a guy who's done this show, actually. A couple of those Imagineers had done the show before they passed away, including Rolly Crump. Rolly Crump.
I've heard of him.
Yeah, because I think he's in that clip you're talking about, right? Or is that when he bounces to the Haunted Mansion?
He's in the Haunted Mansion. He's in the Haunted Mansion clip, and he's showing his ideas for the Museum of the Weird, which was Walt's name for it, because Rolly just had a bunch of strange characters like the Candleman and talking furniture and that sort of thing, and so and Rolly would tell that story till the day he died, which is about how they had this big Haunted Mansion meeting with Walt scheduled, and the big guns put Rolly over in the corner all by himself, and so they do their dog and pony show for Walt, and then Walt says, "Okay, is that it?" And I say, "Yep." And I said, "Well, what's all that stuff that Roland has over there in the corner?"
Now,
so he had been watching him out of the corner of his eye.
All right,
and he
love
called
that
him
story.
Roland.
Yeah, he does call him. Well, I love that story, but my question is, do you think it actually happened like that, or do you think that's the retelling of it? So you think they were they so disrespectful to him? They said, "You get the corner, Rolly," and did they call him Rolly, or was it? I forget what he said about his name, that he preferred Roland and Walt called him Rolly, or somehow, I don't know.
No. Walt was the only person who called him Roland at the studio at Disney. Everybody else called him Roland. In fact, I don't even know if Rolly was the inspiration for Rolly the pup in 101 Dalmatians. Remember the fat pup who was always, "I'm hungry, mother. I'm really hungry." That's Rolly, right? And it comes from him being roly poly, I guess. But Rolly, Rolly was there. He moved over to WED probably 1960 or so, I think, and was working. That's when he and Yale Gracie were working on mansion effects and things.
Now, so you think that story, the way he tells it, with all its like cinematic eloquence, is real? He was shoved off, disrespected, but he got Walt's eye. And,
yeah.
Or do you think Walt was
thorough enough
to say?
And it even goes further into the next morning, and Rolly gets there about 7:30, and Walt's already there, and he's in the same clothes. Now these might be embellishments, but I would think the gist of it is probably true.
He was a dynamite talent. He was, and I would think that his work had captured the attention of Walt prior to any meeting like that. So Walt probably, I think, knew to give Crump the time to. I mean, he was painting unique things up until his death.
They actually did it. He was doing the tiki room. He did the tiki garden out front. He had to literally carve the tiki totems because Blaine Gibson didn't have the time to do them because the World's Fair was starting to crush them. And then I'm not sure when Museum of the Weird came about, probably after the World's Fair deadlines were over, and they were able to return to Pirates and Mansion. And Rolly did some mansion stuff, which eventually Walt thought that could be a separate thing. So, and it's too bad that it didn't happen. I would love to see it happen eventually. I think there's a way to do it. So stay tuned. Watch this space for development.
Watch this space. Did you meet Rolly?
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I figured you did. What was your impression of him as a person?
Oh, just a twinkle-eyed, free spirit, and we knew of him. I worked for other companies, and he had his own company after he had left Disney called the Mariposa Company, and so he had done things. I think he did. I think he was involved with the dinosaurs at Knott's, which is the thing I was involved with. I was involved with the Kingdom of the Dinosaurs attraction, in that I built a model of the building that we were taking Knott's Fairy Tales out of. You remember Kingdom of the Dinosaurs? Remember that ride?
Right.
Knott's?
Yeah. Getting back to Crump for a minute, Crump was considered him and Gracie were the architects, basically, of what became the Haunted Mansion, which has now since done a redo.
Well, not in that some crazy Rolly's reach goes as far as like some of the furniture that has faces on them, and he didn't do the wallpaper. That was a gal, but I think maybe Mark might have sketched it first. But eventually, the mansion really became Mark's and Claude. So they are the final. They were kind of the final say on it.
Now, you were talking off air about like the Kurt Russell kickoff, or
Disneyland Showtime.
The Haunted Mansion was an idea of Walt Disney's. You see, he began to worry where ghosts were going to live after all the old houses were torn down to make room for freeways. He decided that if someone didn't give him a house to live in, why, they'd just disappear. So Mr. Disney built a Haunted Mansion.
Oh, boy, but I'm sure glad it's not Halloween tonight.
Well, how come, Donnie?
Well, there'd be so many ghosts here, there wouldn't be any room for us.
Oh, boy. Come on, the line's moving.
Yeah.
Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell, who's our host.
Yeah.
And the Osmonds, pre Jimmy. I don't even know if Jimmy was born yet. And then E.J. Peeker. She looked like Barbara Eden.
One of your favorites.
Oh my gosh.
So what was it they did? They hosted this kickoff or went through the ride and showed people what it was, or?
Yeah, they most of the special is kind of a romp through Disneyland where Donnie and who is it, Jay, one of the other brothers, they get separated from the group, and so the time to be at the stage, backstage, is getting closer and closer. But the other brothers and EJ go looking for them in Disneyland, so hijinks ensue.
They come out of darkness, sometimes with thunder, sometimes with lightning. Their presence means death. The prison master was afraid of him. The guards were afraid of him. The town was afraid of him. Lucifer is coming for you. Rest easy, Jack Carr said in a low tone. You're in the final 30 seconds of your life. No quarter. No quarter. Kill all masters. Coming soon